All right, let's jump right in. We need to talk about a massive shift that's happening in the world of design, and it's all because of AI. Now, this isn't just about learning some fancy new software. Nope. This is about completely rewiring the way we think, the way we create. If you're a designer, your entire playbook is changing, and we're going to look at 4 critical ways that's happening right now.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we're going to zoom out, moving from just pushing pixels to actually orchestrating entire systems. Then, we'll tackle the tricky reality of AI's uncertainty and figure out how on earth you build trust. After that, we're going to crack open that infamous black box to explain the why behind an AI's decisions. And finally, we'll get into the designer's new and absolutely crucial role as an ethical guardian.
Okay, first up, from screens to systems. This is really about broadening our horizons. For so long, our job was about crafting these beautiful, static interfaces, but that's just not the whole picture anymore. Now, it's about conducting these huge, intelligent ecosystems.
Just look at the difference here. On the left, that's the world we know, right? Traditional design. It's got rigid paths, predictable results, static screens. You click a button, you know what's going to happen. But on the right, that's the world of AI. It is not a straight line. It's this adaptive, dynamic, constantly shifting system. We're not designing for a predictable output anymore. We're guiding a system that learns, that guesses, that evolves.
So what is this new canvas we're working on? Well, it's the AI ecosystem. And you got to think of it like this living, breathing web. It's not just the app itself. It's the data that's feeding it, the algorithms making the decisions, the users interacting with it, and all the stakeholders trying to steer it. The designer's job is shifting from just being a creator to being the strategic orchestrator of this whole network.
And here's what that actually looks like day to day. You know we're used to mapping user flows, right? Well, now we have to map the entire data flow. Where does it come from? Where does it go? Suddenly, the interface isn't just for the user. It's also a tool to get better data for the AI. The big takeaway here is you're now designing feedback loops to make the model smarter, not just to help the user find a button. And thinking about these huge, complex systems leads us straight into our second big challenge, designing for uncertainty. See, AI systems almost never give you a 100% certain answer. They work in probabilities, in maybes. So how do we design for that ambiguity and still get our users to trust the system? This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, if an AI suggests something to you, how much should you believe it? If you just hide the fact that it's uncertain, that can be really dangerous. It leads to something called automation bias, where people start to blindly trust the machine, even when it's wrong. So one of the best ways to handle this is to just show it. Be transparent. Visualizing the AI's confidence level gives the user crucial context. Look, a 95% confident prediction feels a whole lot different than one that's only 35% confident. By showing this, you're empowering the user to adjust their own level of trust and make a much smarter decision. The whole strategy here is about managing expectations and making sure the human is always in the driver's seat. You have to be upfront about what the system can and can't do, and how well it does it. And you absolutely have to plan for failure, what we call graceful degradation. So when the AI messes up, it doesn't just crash and burn. It hands control back to the user safely and clearly. It's all about designing those critical handoff moments. But, just showing a confidence score isn't quite enough. To really, truly build that deep trust, we've got to explain the why behind the AI's logic. We need to crack open that black box. And this brings us into the fascinating world of explainable AI, or XAI. At its heart, XAI is all about answering that one very human question: why did the system do that? It's a whole collection of methods that are designed to make AI decisions make sense to us, taking us from a mysterious result to a process we can actually understand. Now, a key thing to get is that not all explanations are the same. As a designer, you need to think about 2 main types. On one hand, you have global explanations. These give you the 30,000-foot view of how the entire model works. But sometimes, a user just needs a local explanation, the specific reason for one single outcome, like, why was my loan application denied? Both are essential, just for different moments.
So why is this so important? The goal of XAI isn't just to satisfy our curiosity, it's actually a psychological safeguard. It helps users build a correct mental model of how the AI works. Because without that, people tend to fall into one of 2 traps. Either they trust it blindly, that's automation bias again, or they don't trust it at all,
And neither of those is useful. And this quote from IBM's AI guidelines just hits the nail on the head. Imperceptible AI is not ethical AI. It's so simple and so powerful. If you can't understand it, how can you hold it accountable? And that idea is the perfect foundation for where we're going next. Because that idea of accountability brings us to our final and maybe most important section, the ethical blueprint. This is where the designer's role really elevates. It goes beyond just making things work to making sure they work for the good of people. It's about stepping up and becoming an ethical leader.
And designers have so much power here. You're in the room where it happens. You can help shape clear ethical policies for your company. You can be the one advocating for diverse datasets to fight bias before it ever gets coded into the model. And crucially, you can design systems that always keep a human in the loop, making sure technology helps us but never fully replaces our judgment.
We can literally build these safeguards right into our designs. Things as simple as a confirmation prompt before a high-stakes decision, just to force a moment of human thought, or creating clear audit trails so we can always go back and see what an AI did and why. But maybe the biggest responsibility is to ask the tough questions early on in the prototype phase. How could someone misuse this? What harm could this cause? And you ask that before anyone's written a single line of code. So, when you pull all of this together, the role has just profoundly changed. You're not just an architect of screens anymore, working off of static blueprints. No, you're more like an ecosystem gardener. You're tending to this complex, living system of data, algorithms, and people, carefully shaping its growth and doing your best to ensure its health.
And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. In a world where technology is moving at the speed of light, is the designer, the person who's supposed to be closest to the human experience, are they our last line of defense for making sure AI is built responsibly? Something to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in.